Alright, so in this video I'm going to show 10 items that I found useful while I was out overlanding, and I probably will not camp or overland again without. They're either items that I brought with me or picked up out on the roads, and maybe they'll make your life a little bit easier as well. Keep in mind, these are not must-have recovery gear or safety items or anything like that. They're just items that made my life easier while I was traveling. So the first item is from a company called the Perfect Bungee, and I bought these at Overland West, but it comes in certain lengths, and then regardless of what that length is, you can hook it into itself and create a shorter length. They are much more pliable and a lot better to stretch than, say, your typical rubber or EPDM bungees. I have pretty much got rid of all of those. Even for the roof, I got rid of my ratchets that were holding down all my boxes, and I went with this bungee squid. I don't know exactly what they call it, but it's just a ring with 5 bungee cords attached to it that easily come apart, so you can have 3 or 4 or 2, and then the other end just looks like your regular hook. And again, it hooks into itself so that you can just wrap this around your cargo rack. But you'll see this on some of my videos when I launch my drone off my roof, and I have this holding down my boxes. So like I said, it got rid of all my rubber and EPDM bungees, and it also got rid of my ratchet straps. I love these things. I think these are around $5 a piece, but they always run promo codes on their Instagram, so you can look them up there, and also free shipping codes. So these are a must-have if you are looking for a simple bungee cord and you don't want to keep paying for the rubber ones, which continue to crack every time they're outside. I had some crack within a month or two of being on my trip. And they do guarantee these, I think, for life if you can show that you didn't misuse them. And I love this product, so hopefully somebody out there will try it and give a comment back as to what you think about them. But the best bungee cord I've ever come across, and I think they also sell them at Home Depot. Next up is a Bluetooth OBD. Now, some people will say that you should have an OBD reader no matter what you're doing, and a lot of people have the wired ones that you just plug in and it's connected to a box. In this case, I'm recommending this one because this is so much more easy to use. You can keep it plugged in. And the great thing about this is on your phone, you get live data of temperature readings, RPMs, things of that nature. And also you can, on the go, just have it check your system for any pre-codes or any codes that it's throwing. Now, luckily for me, I did not have any codes and no engine lights show up when I was traveling. I know it's hard to believe for some XJ owners or even Jeep owners, but 30,000 miles and not a single engine code. But I was able to read some of the data that came along with this, and to further improve it, you can enter your VIN number to your vehicle and it'll provide even more accurate information, and I think even more information than the standard readout. But I really like this thing. Now, this particular one is one of the more expensive ones out there, the Blue Driver, and it costs, I think, about $100. I had actually picked this up before I even went on my trip and was using it for a while to test it out to make sure it was what I needed, and I really like it. So I just had a code after I changed my radiator, plugged this in, or it was already plugged in actually, looked it up on my phone by just hitting the app button, and boom, it told me what the code was, and I knew exactly where my issue was. So for that reason, I highly recommend getting one of these. There are less expensive ones on the market, I think even half the cost, if not more, that have pretty good reviews on Amazon. But go ahead and check this one out, check others out, and see if this also might be something that could be useful for you as well. Alright, so my next item is probably something most people don't think about. I know I didn't. This is a pesticide bottle for in the garden. I got this idea from Super Wheelie Overland after making fun of them a couple of times while I was out camping with them. Now I will not travel without one. This is a great conservation of water because it's so useful in so many things that you can do with it, and it does not use nearly as much water for whatever application you use it for as, say, a bottle of water where you're just dumping it on, or whatever container you have that has water in it. So this works by pressure, and it either has a fine spray or a direct stream, or you can have anything in between. The amount that it holds is 1,500 milliliters, or about 48 ounces. I just used it not that long ago to put out a campfire, and I probably did that with way less than half the water that I normally would have by dumping water on the fire. I just used this to spray it a few times and it did the job. I also use it to clean out my pots and pans, or I have one pot. I've used it to brush my teeth, although keep in mind this particular one, which I'll have linked below, does have a lead warning on it. I don't drink water from this, and when I'm cleaning out my pot, I do clean it up afterwards, so I'm not that worried about it, and you got to die of something anyway. But it is very useful. You can probably find one that does not have a lead warning on it. It probably has to do with something in the plastic and the way that it was made. I also use it to clean out my door jamb, because when I get in and out of the cab to sleep in the back of this or even sit back here, I go through the one door and it's constantly muddy from going through, trails or dirt roads. So with this, you have a direct stream of water. You can aim it to wherever you want to clean up, and then you're not wasting water. So if you're like me, who has to conserve water because you're always going into remote areas and whatever water you take with you is all the water you have, unless you filter it or use a life straw or something like that, or just decide to use stream water. But if you know that you might be limited on water, conserving it is a big deal, and this really conserves water. So I'm always finding new uses for it. When I was doing the sugar beet harvest, I used it to clean off my boots. You can clean off your hands, use it to wash your hands. So lots of uses for this thing. It is a little bit bulky, but the amount of time that it takes for me to try to find somewhere to put this every day when I'm traveling and have it close at hand is well worth the trade-off for all the utility that I get out of this and the water conservation I get from it. So highly recommend this product, and I suggest you give it a try. So the next item is actually essential for me, but not going to be essential for most people, and that is the power pack. I actually have two of these. I use these to power all my USB items, including the lights that you see behind me and my USB fans, both of which I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm not going to talk real long about this because I just did a video on these and my inverter and how I use them as my sole source of power. But if you are looking for mobile power that you need to hook USB devices, even if it's just recharging items, this is definitely the way to go. Highly recommend these things, and I will not travel without these because they are pretty much my only source of electricity when I'm on the road. But give these a try or give them a look and see if you can't possibly find a use for these as well. So something else that I found useful and that I used the power packs for were these string lights. Now I know you're probably thinking it looks like what you'd find in a child's bedroom, but they are very useful. I have two different sets up there. One is a bluish tint, which apparently attracts bugs probably more than the warm white. The warm white ones are from a company called Revel. I think I paid about $20 for those. And then the other ones that go around the perimeter, the blue ones, that's my limo lighting as I call it. And that is just cheap lighting from Amazon. So with these on, I am able to dim the warm white ones so that they're not so bright, but I get rid of having to use the switch lights like that, or the Harbor Freight light like that, or even the remote lights that I brought with me. I found myself never hardly turning those on, and these were enough light that they provided all the lighting that I needed in order to do whatever I wanted to do back here. So it's great that it lights up the entire cab and not just a certain area, and then turn them on and off whenever I want and have lighting at the touch of a switch. So the next item is something else that I hooked into my power pack, and that is the USB fan system. So these you can either buy in pairs already wired together as far as your wire to your USB connection, or you can buy them individually, but they all connect into each other via USB, and then that plug will hook into either a power pack or an inverter or something else with a USB outlet. I like these because by putting foam around them, I was able to put them right up in my window, roll the window up against it and make it tight so that I could either vent out or vent in. And they do have 3 different settings, but just to give you an idea of what they look like, there you go. So low, medium, and high. And then if I wanted the air to vent in, I'd put them in one way. If I wanted it to vent out, I'd put them in the other way. As you can hear, or maybe you can't. They are very quiet. All you can hear is actually the blade going. You can't hear the motor at all. I found these absolutely essential when I needed to vent out in very cold weather because I didn't want condensation building up behind my Reflectix or anywhere else in the vehicle, especially when it was cold and raining out. I found that if I didn't put these in, I'd actually have droplets inside my window from all the condensation. So these helped tremendously, came in very useful. I had a video on how I assembled these. I'm probably going to go another route in the future. I'm going to try to get a large piece of foam that's about as wide as this. I'm going to cut out a section that these can sit in and then have probably an inch all the way around, and then I'll jam that in my window. The zip ties come loose on occasion and I constantly have to reposition the foam that I have around them, but it got the job done for my trip that I was just on, and I definitely will not travel without these. They're very useful, like I said, to prevent condensation, as well as on hotter nights to bring cooler air into the cab. I have 2 sets of these so that I can have them in 2 different windows, or I'll just put one up at a time, but very useful item. The next item I want to talk about are the Reflectix covers that I have around my vehicle. I know people already use Reflectix a lot of times for keeping the sun out or to keep heat in, but in my case, I went ahead and added speaker fabric to the Reflectix by snapping them together. I just bought the snaps off of eBay, and then I reinforced the snaps on each side so that they wouldn't pull through the Reflectix. So by having this extra layer of protection, it keeps the heat in even better and also keeps the heat out depending on the situation. And additionally, when you put Reflectix in your window, even if it's tinted, I have pretty dark tinting. It's not limo tinting, but it's pretty dark on the back windows here. And when this is right up against the window, you can actually see that that's there. By having the black fabric out, that will definitely make it just look like a tinted window, and it's not going to look like somebody could possibly be living inside the vehicle. In addition to that, it's an extra layer of insulation. So even when I have the black side out and the sun is on this, by having the Reflectix on the other side, it creates a buffer, and it'll be cooler to the touch on this side and it'll be pretty hot on this side. Same thing with the heat inside the cab. When it's cold out, I would say I get at least 10 to 15 degrees warmer inside temperature wise than outside when it's cold outside. But like I said, having that extra insulation layer helps out a lot. So I have this in all 4 of my windows, as well as the back one here, and then above my headliner I have just the Reflectix along the entire ceiling. So something to think about if you're using Reflectix. Now I just showed that I use the fans, and you can see on this one I've actually got it split. I've got it split in 2 different areas so that when it's together, I don't just have a crease that goes all the way through. I've got still a barrier there. But this way I can pull this back when my fans are in the windows, and it'll allow the air ventilation to still take place. So just something to think about, something that I found really useful. I'm glad I went this route, and it also does make them a lot more rigid when you're trying to put them in your windows and keep them in your windows. So anyway, hopefully you can look at something like that and also maybe find it useful. So next up is a bottle jack cradle. Now, I know a lot of people will carry bottle jacks in their recovery gear. I use the bottle jack to lift my vehicle when I needed to replace the hub, to check on things, when I rotate my tires, and this makes it a lot safer. So if you've got a straight axle, you can put this so that it cradles the tube of the axle and lift up your vehicle. It just fits right over the bottle jack, and I even use it at home when I need an extra lift for whatever reason. So this thing probably costs more than the bottle jack itself. I think it was about $30 to $40 when I bought it. I'll leave a link below to one on Amazon, but you can shop around and see if you can't find one cheaper. I think I might have even bought this one off of eBay, I forget. But very useful tool to have. Don't really think about it until you really need it, but since you're going to be on the road for a long time possibly, and you might have to rotate your tires on the road, save yourself some money, do it yourself like I did, find a place to do it, and then by using the bottle jack, it is going to be a lot safer for you to do. But highly recommend this. Great tool to have. I just always have it with the bottle jack, and it's there when I need it. All right, so next up are these Go Treads. Now these can be used in addition to or instead of your tracks or max tracks. Now obviously they can't be used as a bridge because they're hinged, but you can use them to conform to the hole that you're stuck in or that you need support under your wheel for. And then they can also be used to wrap around the edge of the hole so that you can continue momentum once you get out. The nice thing about these and being hinged is that you can also use them for leveling, which I have many times. So you've got this nice little ramp here, and then you have 3 different levels that you can use to level your vehicle. So I keep these right on top of my roof rack, easily accessible, so that if there isn't a log or a large stone around to level my vehicle, I can use these. Now, at first thought, because they're hinged, you'd think that the hinges might break, but keep in mind these were designed for semi-trucks. So there's probably hardly an overlander that has a vehicle that weighs more than a semi-truck. In addition to that, they've only ever had a handful of warranty claims, all of which they have warranted, and those were in use for a 60,000 pound crane or something like that, from what I understand, and they still replace the product. So if you have a Jeep or a truck or anything like that using for overland, you're probably not going to break these things. The family was really nice to talk to. They've been in business for decades, and it is a solid product. So these cost about $110 for a set. So technically you can get 2 sets and cover all 4 wheels for the same price as Max Tracks. I have a set of tracks on top. They're the X-Bull version. So with these 2, I have all 4 wheels covered if I were ever to be in that situation. But very cool, multi-purpose item, and something that I'm going to continue to travel with in the future. So the last item is for people that use storage containers like I do. So I don't have everything in the boxes underneath my bed. Sometimes I keep them in storage containers, and for that reason I carry these Ziploc containers. Now there's a number of reasons why I chose this particular product and why I will continue to use it. So first of all, it has 4 latches that I've used for quite a while now and have never come loose. And then on top of that, they've got this great foam seal that goes all the way around the edge. So I've accidentally left these out in the rain, and I've never had an issue with them getting wet on the inside because of that seal. So that's 2 reasons. And then the last one is that they're clear. So you can see my cup of noodle in there. So I carried 3 of these, and when I didn't know what was in each one, I could just look through the clear sides or the bottom and figure out whether or not my item is in there. And 9 times out of 10, I was able to pick the right box because of that. So it's just a simple item. They are a little bit on the pricey side. I'll leave a link below like everything else, but definitely something to consider. And I think Walmart also has these, so you could just walk into a Walmart, test them out yourself, just kind of touch and feel them, and find out if this is something that you think you would consider. I've even had these drop from on top of this ammo box here, so that's about 5 feet, and they did not crack. So I'm sure if it hits the right way, it is plastic, it will crack, but I was kind of impressed a couple of times they did fall off by mistake that they didn't break on me, and I actually did break a couple of items that were inside the container when that happened. But anyway, just something else to think about, and something else that I'm going to continue to use on my camping and overland trips. All right, so that was 10 items that are, I would say, non-typical to most people who are out there traveling or camping that I find useful and that I probably will not travel or camp without in the future. If you have any comments on anything that you saw, or you have any experience with anything that you saw, feel free to leave a comment below. Or if you have an addition to this list, because I'm sure there's a lot of products out there that many of us aren't thinking about that aren't absolute essentials but are going to make our life easier, then feel free to leave that below as well. I'm going to leave a link to everything that I showed you in the comments section. I'll have that as a pinned comment, and then for everything else that I have on this vehicle, or a lot of the other items that I didn't show but things that I have on this vehicle, like my bumper, my winch, or things that I've used inside the cab, I have a list of all those items in the description. And then I also have a store where I link a lot of that as well. But everything in this video is going to be in the pinned comment down below. As always, thanks for watching. Really appreciate your time. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you later.